Today I'm here at DC Pianos with what appears to be a very ordinary piano. As you can see, the name on the fallboard says Kimball, and Kimball is not a particularly desirable acoustic piano, and the reason for this is simply because Kimball pianos as a whole were very modest and average. But this is actually a rather special Kimball. But because of the Kimball name on it, it's not really that desirable, and as a result it has a very low price point of $7,995. And I think you'll realize that for the price point of that, you'll be hard-pressed to find something that's actually radically better than this in this market. So what we have here is a Kimball, but what makes it special is the fact that during this time period, Kimball actually owned the Bösendorfer Piano Company, which is a prestigious brand from Austria. So what they were doing at this time point was making a piano with the Kimball name on it. Why they didn't put Bösendorfer on the front, I have no clue. But they put Kimball on the front, and the inside is basically copied from a Bösendorfer of the same size. And when we take a look at the inside, I think you'll realize that that is in fact very, very true. So the reason that this is special is because it's a Kimball, but it's a bit higher quality than your average Kimball, and so that makes it a really, really great deal because there's not a lot of demand for Kimball pianos. Let's take a quick look on the inside though and check out just how Bösendorfer-ish it actually is. So for those of you who have never seen a Bösendorfer piano, this might just look like your typical acoustic piano, but for those of you who are familiar with the design of Bösendorfer pianos, you'll instantly recognize that the design of the harp is very, very Bösendorfer-ish. Now of course we do have a big Kimball badge in the center of the soundboard, but if you take a look at the design of the harp, the part of it that reminds me of Bösendorfer is this edge over here with the big portholes going down the side that consecutively get a little bit bigger and then a little bit smaller down the edge. That is just absolute pure Bösendorfer, and every Bösendorfer pretty much that I've ever seen does that. So that alone to me just really seems like a Bösendorfer. And when I was walking by it in the shop, I'm looking at the inside and I go, oh, that looks like a Bösendorfer. But then I see the logo and I know, oh, this is a Kimballdorfer. So that's how I was able to identify this immediately and know exactly what's going on here. So like I said, for anyone who's very familiar with the Bösendorfer design, this will obviously look very, very Bösendorfer to you guys. Now let's take a listen to how it sounds. So let's have a listen to how this Kimballdorfer sounds, and I think that some of you guys may very well enjoy this instrument. Now keep in mind that this is not a Bösendorfer. No matter how much it looks like one on the inside, it really doesn't have the soul and the personality of a real Bösendorfer. But you also have to keep in mind that it is $8,000, and I think for that price point, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to find something that's truly better than this. So let's have a listen to this. The tone of this piano is really quite interesting. In the mid-range, it almost sort of has a kind of a 60s Baldwin-esque sound with that bright, glassy kind of a sound. The action, however, feels nothing at all like what you would find in a classic Baldwin. The action, I believe, is actually Kimball's own design. In the early years of these Kimballdorfers, as I like to call them, the actions were pretty atrocious. But as the years improved, so did the actions, and also DC Pianos has gone through and done a basic regulation on this, and honestly, it feels nice. It is heavy. So for those of you who don't want a heavy action, this won't be the piano for you. But for those of you who are looking for a good practice piano that's just going to be there and always ready to be able to be played, this one would work just perfectly fine. And there is a lot of truth behind the fact that a heavier piano action that's responsive and does everything it needs to is actually better to practice on than a light action. One thing I was noticing in that little Debussy passage there is how like laser sharp, and that's a word I've never used to describe the treble, but the high notes on this are like clean and pure, almost like a laser. Just like, there's your sound right there. It's very strange and very interesting. So let's take a listen to the high treble. Now, I said that this didn't have the personality of a Bösendorfer, but that high treble is honestly reminiscent of a Bösendorfer. It's got that very crystalline, clear, icy sound you expect from these European acoustic pianos, and a true Bösendorfer certainly would have a similar type of sound. I think a real Bösendorfer might be a little bit more pure and a little more dainty sounding up here in the treble, but honestly, this does have a very unique sound. It's not a American sound from this piano. That's not what you're getting. You're getting something that's a little bit different. I want to play the treble a tiny bit more and just mess around with it because I like the sound of it up there. And that low bass is pretty rich too. You wouldn't expect that, but it's got a nice sound. So that has been a brief little look here at this Kimballdorfer at DC Pianos. That's a name that I think I'm not the only one who uses that term, but it's a fun way to describe these pianos that are part Kimball, part Bösendorfer, and they're a very interesting mesh of two totally different piano companies. Kimball was kind of like your average home piano. You want a basic piano for your home? Get a Kimball back in the day. And Bösendorfer was like, do you want an exotic, beautiful, handcrafted piano for your home? Get a Bösendorfer. It's a meshing of two completely different worlds and two completely different ideals of the piano industry, and it's created this very interesting piano that these days is actually quite affordable. Like I've said already, there's not a lot of demand for Kimball pianos, and at first glance, it's a Kimball. You know, most people wouldn't know that it's actually heavily inspired by Bösendorfer. So I think that that's something that is very interesting, and like I said, for a little bit under $8,000, I'm not sure what else you'd find that truly could be better than this. This would be a wonderful, solid home practice piano, or even for performance in small venues, because it does have a bright edge to the sound, much like many Bösendorfers do when they get a bit older. Actually, most pianos do, to be honest with you, but many older Bösendorfers do have that brighter edge tone. So I think that is kind of an interesting little video here, and I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. As always, I highly recommend you guys come by and visit DC Pianos if at all possible. They have so many interesting and unique pianos like this one that it's just so much fun to come by and check them out. But if you're not able to do that for any reason at all, you might want to check out my channel, because I do have a lot of cool videos from DC Pianos, and I think after a while, they're not titled DC Pianos, but I think after a while you just get to recognize the place in the thumbnails, because at least I do, because I've seen it so much. So hopefully you guys want to go check that out. If you do, thank you very much. If you want to subscribe, thank you even more, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.